Okay, I'm going to also hit select. So now I have two voices I've selected. And I'm done with that for now. Just simply press enter and watch how fast that is. It's going to load the first and the second voice instantly, and they have been assigned to F1 and F2. So if I want to play those voices, hit F1, that's my marimba. Or I can go to nylon guitar right there. A little bit thin for me, but that's okay. I can always go in there and polish it up and add some more stuff to it as we play it. In the hard drive as well, we just did some RAM INS voices. I can go back in there now, and I can go into the Super Solo disc. Here we go. Scroll up or down into Super Solo category and hit enter. And I have some very interesting sounds over here I might want to load as well. The alto jazz, and I want to also go in here to the trombone. Now the Super Solo category, its sounds are very, very interesting indeed, because these sounds don't only capture the voicing per se, or the sample of the instrument, but also the characteristic of the instrument. For example, a human being breathing through a saxophone, or a human being actually playing with some character, some charisma. These are all going to be demonstrated in this in these voices here. So I can now go in here. As you can see, the marimba and nylon sounds from the RAM INS category or bank are still in the machine, and I just loaded in the alto jazz and the trombone voice, both from the Super Solo bank in the hard drive. So now to play them, just select right there. You see what's happening? Depending on how hard or how soft I play, I'm calling up different characteristics of that instrument. So that just gives you an idea of what we're doing here with the voices. I just went through the different categories and explained to you how you can play the preset voices on the Audya, how you can play the general MIDI voices, how you can assign a second voice to your lead voice, how you can play with the drawbars and have access to the control to the actual drawbars on the Audya. Also, we spoke about the voice list feature, which allows you to either assign or pick your favorite voices in the machine, because there are a ton of them, or assign favorite voices to individual styles. So whenever you call up a style, every style will call up its favorite voices, which you can then use in a performance. We also spoke about the double, where you can actually add a lower octave to an individual instrument. And we finished off by talking about the different harmony parts, and how you can add the different harmonies to the different voices on the left and the right. And then we rounded off everything with the Super Solos and the RAM INS. The last part of this tutorial for the voice section now is going to be the programs. And in this section, the programs allows you to actually layer 1, 2, and 3 voices on the Audya. So already shipped out of the out from Ketron, Italy. When you have the program voices, there's some in there for your demonstration. Most of the voices again are arranged into the categories over here, the different families. So if I go into piano and I pick, let's say with the program button lit, I can pick, let's say, the grand piano, or I can go into electric pianos and pick, let's say, smooth marker. Go into pianist mode, and you're going to hear Now, the nice thing about a program is you can actually edit these program voices. Like, you can say to yourself, wait a minute, I love what they have done with the voices, but I want to make my own programs. Well, how do you do that? Again, there's a one nice little magical button here called edit, and depending on what field or what parameter you're in, the edit button takes you to the edit field of that particular character. So if I am in the program menu right now, which I am in, and I press the edit button, I'm going to go into the program edit screen. And the first column is going to give you your first voice, second column, your second voice, third column, your third voice. And the different rows from left to right gives you the different features of that particular voice. So for an example, in this program, my first voice is a stage piano. Its volume is number 60. The shift is default, there's no shift. The tune value is default, there's no tune. And it's been panned 16 values to the left. So it's pretty much on the left side, left speaker. The second voice is a DX piano, and its volume is 42. Again, shift value is nil, tune value is nil, and this time its pan value is 15 to the right. And the third voice is off, which means there is no third voice assigned to this. If I want to add a third voice, simply press F6, and the off is highlighted. I can use the data value wheel to scroll through to actually assign a third voice to this particular program voice. I can then assign its voice, which is right now, its volume, which is right now at 63, or its shift value, or its tune, or its pan, which is right now in the center. Now, I can go into voice edit over here, and I can now get into the edit of that third voice. We can go into the attack, the decay, sustain, release levels as well. And again, using the buttons on the side of the screen, I can assign and change each one's level. I can go into second voice mode, for example, and the second voice assignable, which is right now on soft pad, I can edit that. I can change it to another voice if I want to. Assign or edit its volume, its octave, its tune and reverb part. Pretty much applies to all the effects as well. And the control factors. The control 1 and control 2 allows me to define different control parameters for each of the voices. So for example, in control 1 page, I have the range. So the first voice in that program, I want to assign a range. I can hit range. I can say, look, I want this voice to be heard when I play from this key to this key. The next voice should be heard when I play from this key to this key. And the next voice should be heard when I play from this key to that key. So you can see the ranges. So the stage piano will be heard in this part of the keyboard. The DX piano will be heard in this part of the keyboard. And the Harper's White voice will be heard on this part of the keyboard. I can also use velocities for the control. Velocity, which means that how hard or how soft do I strike the keyboard. Right now, from 1 through 127 means that regardless of the range of how hard or how soft, 1 is the smallest value, 127 is the biggest, this voice will be heard. Now, if I want the Harper's White, for example, to be heard only when I strike the keyboard hard, I can go here and I can take its lowest value up. Okay, so I can take its lowest value up to say 67 or 70. So I have to hit the keyboard of a value of 70 plus for this voice to be heard. But remember, all the other voices will be heard as well, because they are assigned to be heard on all the different ranges. The sustain value is interesting. I can use the sustain pedal to impact this voice and this voice and this voice. If I want the sustain pedal to impact only the first voice in that program, I would have to go to sustain and turn off the sustain value for all the other voices. So when I press the sustain pedal, only the first voice will be impacted by the sustain, as in this case the other voices will not. The expression is the same thing, the volume pedal. Right now, on means I want the volume pedal to impact the first, second, and third. But let's say I'm playing in a performance where I want the second voice not to be impacted by the volume pedal. I can turn that off, and so when I press the volume pedal, the other two voices will be impacted by that, but the third voice in the middle will just stay not affected by the third voice. Control panel number 2, again, I have a little bit more controls here. Again, at each time you can see the screen, I maintain my voices, voice 1, voice 2, and voice 3. Now I have my portamento and my mono as well, poly or mono. I have my morphing, so I can morph from my first voice to the second, or morph from the second to the third. Okay? And the morphing allows you to come over here where you have the modulation wheels on the left-hand side of the panel. And when you put the wheel down, you're going from the first voice. When you push the wheel all the way up, you're going to the second voice. And that pretty much concludes your program editorial tools. Of course, when you're done with the program edit, when you're in the program edit screen and you're done with it, you hit the save button and it's going to ask you save as, and you can give it a new name or you can maintain the old name that was already in the machine. You can save right here into the memory of the machine, or you can save to disk, to hard disk, as a backup file as well. And that concludes our voice control on the Audya part 1 of the tutorial. Another amazing feature from the advanced music station Audya from Ketron is the fact that they have taken the whole drums and accompaniment section to a whole new level. And what do I mean by that? Well, in the past, keyboards used to have sounds, and they were not sounding that real, because everything, or most of the stuff anyway, was done or controlled by MIDI, which meant that everything or most of the stuff had to be done on a computer. Well, in today's day and age, the only way that Ketron could surpass this holdback was to give you a machine that was actually programmed and realized by real live musicians, for real live musicians. What do I mean by that? In the category called styles over here, the keyboard comes with over 320 different styles. And styles are just like your rhythms, which have bass parts.